27 and 24. Therefore, whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. But everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it fell. And it was great was its fall. And so it was when Jesus had ended these sayings that the people were astonished at his teaching. The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be unto God. I want to continue in the series that we started, What Are You Building? And I want to talk today for a little while from the subject building blocks. Building blocks. We have been called to build something great, transformative, and lasting. I've said it throughout this series, parts 1 and 2, that buildings say something. The larger the city, the more buildings and the bigger the buildings. So far in this series, we have challenged you around two things. First, to examine what you are building. Are you using what God has blessed you to get, money, prosperity, and favor, to build something you can control, desire, and worship, like the golden calf that the people of Israel built in the wilderness? We also, secondly, have challenged you to consider the necessity and importance of collaborating with others. And today, I want to talk about some key building blocks that we all must consider. Some key building blocks. No one can build without sufficient resources. I don't care what you're trying to build. And let me put a pin there, because sometimes when you talk about these type of things, no, don't say it that way, Herb. Sometimes people struggle with being able to interpret and make correct correlation for application. And so the reality of it is, when I'm talking about asking the question, what are you building? We're talking about a number of things that any of you should be trying to build. You should be trying to build a life that's worthwhile. All right. You should be trying, if you have a family, trying to build a strong Christian family. Thank God for some honest people. And those who have jobs should be trying to build a career, trying to build some financial stability, trying to establish something. So all of us trying to build a solid relationship with the one that you've chosen to be your forever boo. All of us are attempting to build something with your children, to build some strong children that actually can contribute to society and not just take from. I was having a breakfast meeting with someone. We had attended a program together several years ago, and he's a native of Durham, and his father's a pastor, but he lives in South Carolina now, and when he comes back into town every now and then, he'll reach out and say, let's go grab some coffee and get together, and so we catch up. And so he has a son that's 4 years old, and his wife, she's a medical doctor practicing, so he gives me the rundown. He says, well, how's your family, Herb? And I run off what my wife and my children are doing. And this Caucasian brother said, my God. He said, man, that's something to brag about. He said, you've got some good cred, some street cred. He said, you got your girls doing like that. He said, you should be a proud father. And I stopped and said, well, yeah, I am. I'm proud. I'm glad ahead of what it is they're trying to accomplish. And I think about that because that's me trying to build something. And so I don't want you to get twisted and to think because I'm talking in this church and I'm talking about language like building, that because you don't seem to have a future of a business or a major Fortune 500 career, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to all of us. All of us should be questioning, what are we building? It doesn't matter how old or young you are. If you're still alive, you're still trying to build something. So let's consider some building blocks, because in order to build something, you need sufficient resources. It doesn't matter how anointed you are. Without resources, building is limited. Lord have mercy. You can jump and shout. You can quicken and speak in tongues every Sunday for the whole time we're here. But without sufficient resources, you're going to struggle to build. Lord, if speaking in tongues paid bills, I wouldn't have any of them. Y'all ain't talking to me. And I just paid off a bill yesterday. Hey, yeah. Thank God for Jesus. Paid off another bill. So I tell the Lord, thank you. But the reality is that it doesn't matter how anointed you are. Without resources, building is limited. It doesn't matter how wonderful your plan is. Without resources, building is going to be hindered. It doesn't even matter how perfect of a location you find. You got a house in the right community. You live in a prospering city. It doesn't matter. If you don't have the right resources, building won't be a success. But when I speak of resources, I'm not just speaking about money. Tell somebody, he's not just talking about money. You've got to point that out, because some people act like they can only build when the only resource they think of is finances. You need more than just money if you're going to build. You need money, you need workers, you need supplies, you need space or land. So resources must be in order if we're going to build anything worthwhile. So today I want to raise our awareness around several building blocks that I believe are necessary to building anything substantial. Let me ask this question. Who in here is trying to build something subpar? Raise your hand. No, come on, nobody? No. Who's in here is just trying to build something enough just to get by? Anybody? No, you all trying to build something substantial, something significant? Well, if we're going to build something significant, then we need to consider these particular building blocks. You need a substantial family. You don't just trying to build any kind of family. You want a substantial family. You want to build a successful business. You want to build a powerful church. You want to change your community. Well, in our text of Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 28, Jesus is teaching his audience about obeying his teachings through a parable about building something that remains. In the text of this parable, he speaks of two individuals, one who's called a wise man and the other one who's called a foolish person. Notice Jesus is very direct. He doesn't, Lord have mercy, he doesn't mince his words. He doesn't talk around it. He calls one person wise and one person foolish. One person wise and one person foolish. Now, Lord have mercy. I'm out here now, but we got to be careful, because sometimes in today's world, because we don't want to be classified as judging of people, or because we don't want to be classified as having hatred or animosity towards people, sometimes we are reluctant to call some things what they actually are. Foolish is foolish. You may say, well, whatever, moves them is what but foolish is foolish. Jesus didn't say one person is wise and another person just does what seems suitable to them and accepts the outcome. No, he calls one wise and one foolish. All right. And notice he speaks of this wise person and this foolish person, and he speaks of them in relationship to both of them doing the same thing. Both of them are going to build a house. All right. Now, what's interesting is he says both of them build a house, and nobody starts something already planning to bail out when they start. It's foolish if you find yourself starting but already preparing your exit route to get out if it doesn't work out. Because when you prepare your exit route when you're first starting, you are already setting yourself up not to give your fullest effort. I know y'all don't like to hear that, but when you already start saying something like this, well, I'm going to give it my best, but if it don't, I got to have an exit route. When you plan an exit route at the beginning, you have already indicated that you plan to bounce when things get too difficult. Lord have mercy. You cannot talk about giving it your best when you start off already planning how I'm going to get out. Talking about I'm gonna get into a relationship, but I ain't gonna be in this thing too long. I ain't gonna take no foolishness. I ain't gonna put up with too much. If you start off like that, you've already declared that something's going to happen that's gonna cause you to say, where's my prepared exit? Too many people start like this. Too many people, they start already expecting to quit. But notice from this parable in chapter 7 of Matthew, notice that the teaching shows us some things that are a given. There's four things that really stand out to be expected. The first thing that I see in this scripture is that building can be accomplished. All right, I need you to get that. If you're writing down some notes, building can be accomplished. If you're going to build something, you have to start off with the belief that building can be accomplished. If you don't think it can be accomplished, why are you doing it? Y'all looking at me like I'm talking in Cantonese or something. I switched from Chinese to Cantonese. But here's the reality. So I see that building can be accomplished. Somebody say it can be done. Because in the text, both individuals complete what they start. So building can be accomplished. The second thing I see is that there is always, watch this, there is always a challenge to do it faster and easier. All right. Thank you for the 3 people helping me. Anytime you're building something, there is always a challenge to find a faster and an easier route. The third thing that I see that's a given in this text is storms will come. Look at your neighbor and say, yes, they will. Yes, they will. Storms will come. Okay, y'all, that's the wrong neighbor. Tell somebody, storms will come. Yes, they will. Storms, I don't care how sanctified you are, storms will come. I don't care how wonderfully blissful your marriage is, storms will come. I don't care how much you love your job, storms will. I don't care if you work for yourself and you're your own boss, storms will come. Because there comes a time when you can't pay yourself. And you get mad at who? The boss, yourself. Ain't nobody want to be honest in here. Lord have mercy. I got business. I got side businesses. I understand. And it's wonderful when the side business is flowing and flourishing. But when the side business brings no income and you've got outgo, Lord, who you mad at? Mad at yourself. Lord have mercy. So tell somebody storms will come. Storms will come. Will get in your preferred college and storms will come. You'll select your major, but storms will come. Lord have mercy. You will have the child you've been waiting to have since you were 7, but storms will come. So what do I see? What do I see? I see the building can be accomplished. There's always a challenge to do it faster and easier. You know, take some pills. Don't work out. Take some pills. There's always a challenge to do it. All right. Storms will come. But then here's the fourth thing. And out of all my years of working with this passage, Lady Davis, I missed something vital. The text says the storm comes, so we see that. But Paulson, the reality that we can yet celebrate is the fact that even the fool survived the storm. So yes, it's 4 things to be expected, but the fourth one is even you can survive the storm. All right. I thought somebody would get happy with me, because when you're in the storm, Siobhan, the thing you worry about is, will I make it? But the text shows me that the wise and the fool survived the storm. Good God from on high. That should have somebody saying, Lord, I thank God that I can survive the storm I'm in right now. They both survive the storm. The difference is the wise survives with what they started with. The fool survives only themselves. Lord have mercy. And the real question with what you're building is, will what you build survive the storm that is inevitable? Storms will come. And so Jesus speaks of these 2 individuals who were both determined to build a house. The Bible says, lets it be known that they're building a house, something to cover and to protect, something to allow them a place to rest, rejuvenate, and rejoice. Notice both of them build a house. They build it in the same place and they experience the same storm. All right, you missed that. Both of them build a house. They build it in the same place, and they both experience the same storm. What am I saying? What knocks one person out may not knock everybody out. All right, the storm that hits you may shake you to your core, but might only drench my outside. And so when you're building something, remember, watch this, remember to build not just for the good days, but for the storms. You're trying to build a family, you've got to build a family for the storm. If you're only building a family for the good days, then you build it based upon how they look. How they look when you found them. How they look when you proposed or you said yes. But what happens when they don't look like what you started with, and now you got some troubles and some storms? If nothing is built beyond what you built for the good days, how do you ride out the storm? So marriages can't be built on how he or she looks now, but and how you feel now. Because the married folk can tell you ain't always gonna feel the best about the one you got. Ain't no woman like the one I got. Yeah, but what do you mean? What do you mean? Well, if we don't hit the next line, we don't know where you at. Lord have mercy, because some days the way you feel, Lord have mercy. Y'all ain't talking to me. Your financial future cannot be built only on how much money is coming in now. You've got to build your financial future for something down the road. It's a shame that here it is, God blesses you to get more than you've ever had, but you're still in much more debt than you ever had. That's not going to secure your future. If you're going to build a business, it must be built not just on how things work now, but how they're going to work in the future. A church that's going to be built strong is not built only on who's here now and how they feel now, but built upon who's coming and what's supposed to happen. Lord have mercy. Let me put a pin right there. Let me put a pin right there, because I'm coming for this spirit. Because I want to help somebody. Here's a problem, and it's going to be on TV. Lord have mercy, it's all right. It's going to help somebody else too. Here's one of the problems that we struggle with as a church. Sometimes people observe how we do stuff, and then they say that's the Nehemiah way, when they never stop to consider maybe we did it that way because of who we had and what we was working with. And if we ever get some more, some different workers, we could do it different. And when somebody comes in with a new idea, you shoot it down talking about that ain't how we do it. No, we couldn't do it because we had nobody to do it that way. Woohoo! I ain't got no help in here now. Some of y'all have not been here to the point when we used to have the speakers on the floor on a speaker stand, and folk have to shout, make sure don't bump the speaker because we don't want you to knock the speaker down. But then we put the speakers up on the walls. We moved them as we learned more. We found out more. We did different. And so the idea is, Lord have mercy, you've got to build things, yes, where you are, but not just for how things are now, but for how you want things to be down the road. Preach, Davis. Talk to somebody. Help somebody. So if you only build for the good, when the inevitable bad comes, how will you survive? Oh, yeah, you talking about how much money you make and what your salary is, but you don't, Lord have mercy, but you don't have enough in the bank to miss a paycheck. But you somewhere talking about you got it going on, your life is all together. No, you got to build something that can handle the storm. Lord, you've got to build something that when stuff gets difficult, you still can lock down and hold it together. And the reality is, when the storm comes, sometimes you lose some stuff, but you got to know what you're going to hold on to. You've heard me say it before. I learned from the best. My father, never forget, when he was out of work for 2.5 years with no paycheck. Imagine having a son in a private school that at that time was the highest costing school in the state, and your family income gets cut by 60% overnight. Good God. My father sold his Mercedes and still said, look, we've got to make some adjustments in the house because we ain't going to lose the house. You ain't coming out of college. And Lord, we're going to make sure you make it through everything you're dealing with. And when he came through the storm, the same folk who tried to put him off the job had to give him a new job with a $20,000 raise. Don't tell me God can't do something when you build something to survive a storm. How do the very same folk who try to push you out have to give you a job with a $20,000 raise and put you over? Folks that had to report to you. Lord have mercy. Because when you build for the storm, you can survive no matter what happens in your life. Ask somebody, what are you building? What are you building? So in this text, both individuals build houses. Both individuals build in the same vicinity. Preach, man. Both both individuals experienced the same storm. Lord have mercy. There's one distinction that determines the outcome of these two individuals. They both survived the storm, but only one of them built to survive the storm with what he started with. Storms don't kill everybody, but it does impact what you built. The storm may not kill you. You might come out of it, but the question is, do you have what you started with? That's the distinction. The one who builds on the rock weathers the storm and has all of his stuff. But the one who built on the sand, he's alive. Thank you. But everything he had built prior to has now been washed away. His labor was basically in vain. All because of how he built. Even in construction, they build with storm capacity or disaster capacity in mind. They have different type of sheetrock that is able to handle certain degrees of fire and time frame before it's destroyed. And based upon the type of building you're constructing, the inspector will require you to have certain levels of disaster things built in. How much wind force can your roof and windows withstand? Why? Because there are categories of storms. Lord have mercy. Tell somebody categories.